The other day, this past weekend, I went fishing. And as you can imagine, me fishing is quite a funny experience. I went with my little brother, and as I was casting my rod there, he pulled something out of his pocket, and he said, Derek, look at this. And he made a hook. And I was like, Christian, what are you going to do with that hook? He's like, I'm going to catch a fish with this hook. I said, Christian, I don't know if that will work, you know. And he was just so excited about it, so I let him try. Unfortunately, he didn't catch a fish, but he did have fun trying. And as I was sitting there watching him and laughing, I sort of started thinking about writing in our writing workshop and how all year you guys have been sort of trying to catch fish. And you're probably looking at me thinking, are you nuts? You don't catch fish. But if you think about it, your audience is like your fish. And you've been trying all year to write really great stuff, and you've been doing so well at it, and you're sort of trying to hook them in, just like Christian was trying to do with that fish.
We're going to, and we talked about, we've got a really great idea that we're going to do with you on Friday. What we're going to do is really work on some of those pieces you have been writing, and we are going to have you really try and hook or grab in the audience. And to show you what we mean, we are going to share, and you probably heard us fighting over, well, I want to share this one, I want to share this book, because we have favorite books. And some of the reasons we have favorite books is because they have really good leads.
They hook us in right from the beginning.
We just want to keep reading. So we're going to share a couple of our favorite books with you, just the leads, not the whole stories. And we've read some of these throughout the year, and there's some of our favorites. So we're going to begin to show what we mean about how it grabs in your attention. And then we are going to give you an example. Mr. Warren's going to take one of his pieces that he worked that he's really proud of, and we're going to show you how we can kind of revise and work on those leads to grab our readers in even more. And that's what you're going to be doing today, is trying out some of these techniques possibly with some of your favorite pieces, one of your favorite pieces of writing, and that's what we're going to help you with. I'm Marcy Kirsch. I'm a reading specialist here at the Village, and I work with Mr. Warren's 4th grade classroom. I come in 4 days a week during the reading and writing workshop time, and we plan and collaborate together, reading and writing lessons that will help support the students, the whole class, and especially the students that need more support in those areas.
My name is Derek Warren, and I'm a 4th grade classroom teacher. My class has 24 students this year. It's about split half and half with boys versus girls. There are 10 Reading Center kids in my class this year, and a wide range of abilities, 4 students in the Gifted and Talented program.
I'm going to read the beginning, and tell me this does not want to make you just want to keep reading. Chapter 1. It's a mistake to earn the reputation of being a liar. It seems harmless enough to make up stories to entertain yourself, but it can backfire, the way it did with me. So doesn't that make you want to, what happened? He had this whole plan, and it backfired. I mean, you want to keep reading, don't you? Want to find out what the plan was, or how he got in trouble, what happened? So that grabbed my attention. It really hooked me in to keep reading.
Check out this one. This one really hooked me in, especially with summer coming up. It says, on a summer evening, I looked up from dinner through the open window to the backyard. It was growing dark. So right there, I was really excited to keep reading this book, and I just thought this would be something that you guys would love too. The purpose of the lesson was to help students to develop effective leads that hook the reader in right from the get-go. A lot of times 4th graders want to start their stories with one day or once upon a time because that's very comfortable with them. But the purpose of the mini lesson was to show them that there's other strategies to use, and by looking at our mentor texts or published authors, we can find that there's certain strategies that the author uses to try to hook the reader right from the beginning. So Mrs. Kirsch and I sat, and these are some of our favorite books, and we thought, and we just said to ourselves, what are they doing? And how can we take what they do and try it in our own writing so they can be our mentor? And writers, we think that we found the secret that we want to share with you today. Mrs. Kirsch is going to start with Charlotte's Web, and she's going to try to pick it apart the way we did together and see if we can figure out what they do in Charlotte's Web to hook us right from the beginning.
And some of these techniques that we're kind of thinking out loud are what we want you to try in some of your narrative, one of your narrative pieces that you picked today. So watch what I'm going to do as I read this one. Charlotte's Web is one of my favorites. I'm going to read it 2 times. The first time I'm just going to read it through, and enjoy what it says. The second time I read it, I'm going to stop and I'm going to pull it apart, and I'm going to do my thinking. And that's what you're going to do with your writing today is you're going to read through your narrative, your beginning part, just the beginning. We're working on the leads. And then you're going to read it again. You're going to think, what could I change? What kind of techniques from our mentor text could I try today? Where's Papa going? What we did in the beginning is that we spent our time teaching with modeling, using the mentor text, and then sharing the examples from the text to hook them in.
I don't see over this one. This one right here comes from Peter's chair, and this is a really interesting lead here. Peter stretched as high as he could. There, his tall building was finished. Crash! Down it came. Shh, called his mother. You have to play more quietly. Remember, we have a new baby in the house. So if I look closely at this, it says Peter stretched as high as he could. Peter, what's going on here? There's no dialogue like the last one, but stretched, that's like an action word. Oh, so they must be starting with action. There, his tall building was finished. Crash! There's action again. That's sort of neat how they do that. They get us right into the meat of it. Down it came. Shh, called his mother. You'll have to play more quietly. Remember, we have a new baby in the house. So there, I'm thinking that they're doing, yeah, it is. It's dialogue again. So we have some action that it starts with, and then they go straight to dialogue. I like that.
Yeah, so they're both very different, but they're both really good. These are two different techniques that authors used. And the last one that we're going to look at today, because we're looking at three different styles. We're looking at dialogue, action mostly with some dialogue, and then this one from Owl Moon, the very beginning, it was late one winter night, long past my bedtime, when Papa and I went owling. There was no wind, the trees stood still as giant statues. Can't you really picture that in your mind? It was late one winter night. I can long past my bedtime, I can picture that. It's got to be really late when Papa and I went owling. There was no wind, so I can picture it really still. It's really quiet outside. The trees stood still as giant statues. It's almost like really peaceful going, really dark. This time, the author, Jane Yolen, is using really description, setting, starting off with a setting, really going into detail about a setting.
So I took one of my favorite pieces because I think writers that when we take our favorite pieces, we have a lot invested in it, and it's one of those pieces that maybe I could publish and share with someone. So I took one of my favorites, and I wrote the lead up here. So I'll read you the lead, and then I'm going to read you the rest of it to sort of take you back and try to think about the emotion I'm trying to get out through my piece here. It says, one day I got in big trouble during music class. Being the class clown, I decided that it was a good idea to hold a pencil between my nose and upper lip. What a mistake that was. Gulp. I'm a dead man, I thought to myself. And during the modeling, you'll notice that a lot of times we like to use our own writing. And the purpose of that is for the kids to be able to see us as writers as well, and sort of to create the atmosphere like we're all in this together, and we all have things we can work on. We all have things to improve. And by being that model for the students, it allows them to be able to take more risks and to feel more comfortable putting themselves out there, which is sometimes very hard for them to do.
And by actually showing it the mentor text and then taking those strategies and modeling it with Mr. Warren's text, where he had written the 3 types of leads today that they wanted to do, it gave them an example. One we already had done so they could see what we meant by taking their own work, something they've written on, and then actually what it would look like done, and then by actually writing it in front of them. For the other 2, the dialogue and the setting, they could see how you got to that end. We wanted the students today to, after they saw what we were looking for, and Mr. Warren modeled his thinking aloud and revising his leads using the 3 different techniques, them to actually have an opportunity to go and try it. And we specifically wanted them to take a piece that they're proud of and talk about how you could change a lead. You might want to keep it, but there might be a better lead out there that would make your story even grab the reader or hook the reader in better than what they already have. So we sent them back, and we wanted them to have time to try this, and that's when we started conferencing with students. And we used to, wait till their end and they would raise their hand to come up for a conference, but since we've been doing the units of study, that you can get it can be so effective to conference with the students right away. And it's either getting started or if they want to try something, sometimes they don't know how to put it in, so let's say, no, I don't want to change it. So our role today was to kind of show them, if they wanted to try one of these techniques, how they could put it into their writing. Because our goal today was we wanted them to actually try this technique so they could put it in their bag of tricks, so when they're writing other pieces, because you're always, no matter what you write, you have to have some kind of lead or some kind of introduction into.
One hot day in June, I had to go to a soccer game, and it was about 88 degrees outside. It took 20 minutes for me to get all of my soccer equipment on, and we were on the road.
Also, when we conference with them, a lot of times we're trying to figure out the kind of thinking that they're going through as they craft their pieces. A lot of times students tend to want to just sit down, write, and be done with it, and not as much thought goes into it as they could. And so through the conferences and asking them questions like, well, why are you doing this? Or what do you think of this? Or, you know, what's the purpose behind this? It gives them a way to think about their writing and to develop a stronger sense of pride and a deeper meaning behind what they're doing. So let's look at our lead here. So far you have what?
I have one hot day in June, I had to go to a soccer game, and it was 88 degrees outside.
Okay, so what are you thinking?
I was thinking that I could have put like, well, I was gonna put like, boom, the ball hit me. I didn't know what, boom. I didn't know what hit me, but I was so embarrassed.
Okay, so what would that be using?
It would be like using action or
And why would you want to use like the word boom?
because it sounds like someone like smacking you and the ball like hitting like the ground or hitting somebody. Yeah.
I think that would sound really interesting too. I think that's a great idea. What if you tried dialogue? What do you think would happen? How might you start it if you had dialogue there?
I would start it by saying having the referee say, "You still gonna play or you want to get out?" or something like that, or saying, "Are you okay?" Because that actually happened, but I didn't put it in there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So you know what you're sort of doing if you do that? You're sort of starting with the end in mind. Do you agree? So you're starting with the end where you're getting hurt or someone's asking you, and then you're going back and telling the story. What do you think that would do for your reader?
It could hook them into reading it more instead of just reading the first 2 lines and like throwing it away.
And do you think that maybe it would make them, like if you started with that kind of stuff, or the boomer, or if you started with, are you okay? Do you think they'd want to know more about that story, like what's going on after that first line?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what are you thinking you're gonna do for setting then? If you were
Setting.
to try a setting one.
If I were to do a setting one, I would say I was like outside or like on the field on a hot day in June.
You sort of already did it, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you have a lot to think about here, Danielle. I think you need to think about your audience and say, how do you want them to feel right from the gate? Writers, when I was conferencing today, I saw some really awesome stuff, and there's some really good thinking going on about how you want to hook your reader in right from the beginning. And one thing that I noticed, which I thought was really awesome, is the emotion that you're trying to get through, to me as your reader, it's coming through. So that tells me that you're doing a really good job as a writer thinking about your audience.
Why don't we take some and share some of our new leads and tell us if you did an action, a dialogue, or a setting. If you can identify what type you thought would fit best. Pick one to share out that you really are really proud of today. Thomas.
Boing, boing, boing. I jumped off my bed with excitement. It was finally the summer.
And what kind would that be, do you think?
Action.
Action, definitely. I can see you bouncing on that bed.
Ellie, you want to go?
Well, I had conference with Mr. Warren, and my original one was sparks came shooting out of my ears and nostrils in fury. And I didn't know how to change that, really.
And what did you start with originally there, Ellie? What was that first one that you had? Was that action, setting, dialogue?
That was really, I would say, action. And I really liked it, and I didn't want to get rid of it, so I sort of molded it into my new lead. And the new lead is, "No, no, no," I whispered while I sobbed, staining our bar counter. I slowly lifted up my head. Sparks came shooting out of my ears and nostrils in fury, and a fire raged in my eyes, slowly shivering up my tears. And so I talked to Mr. Warren. He said, I didn't want to do setting because I'm not that good at doing setting leads, and I thought about sort of getting ideas from other people's stories in here. And like I thought about Daniel because he is really good with that type of things in his story.
So maybe even Daniel could be someone that you could work with sometime to see how he does his setting leads. You know what I mean? It's definitely their way of supporting each other through the sharing time. A lot of times we'll ask, what was tough, or we'll have students share their work before and then after revision. So we're sort of, in a way, celebrating the revision process and how much it can add to our pieces. And it's great because a lot of times you see the sense of pride with the students when they revise something and they know it's better and they want to share it and stuff. Also, allowing students to notice things about each other. You may have noticed one student said, I'm having a really hard time with writing about the setting, but I think I can talk to Daniel because I've noticed Daniel does a really good job with the setting. And so again, trying to form that writing community where the students can use each other and each other's strengths to build off of what they already have and what they already bring to the writing time. With the units of study, I truly believe that the students feel almost empowered, like they have a voice and that they have control over their writing. We talk a lot about how you have like an invisible backpack filled with great strategies that you can pull out at any time. And Mrs. Kirsch emphasized a lot how, even though you're doing this today, you can do this all the time in your writing. And so it's basically given students a lot of strategies that has helped them throughout the year to feel confident as writers and like they're capable of and worthy of sharing and being a writer.
I also think one of the biggest changes is and I don't know who it came from exactly, but it does fit. We're teaching the writer, not the writing piece. So when we're meeting with a student, we're not crafting and making just this one writing piece better. We're actually teaching the students on how to write better. So that I think you're going to see through this more carryover. Not just if they have a specific topic that they write a really nice story and we're making this story better, but they're actually learning things that are going to carry over into no matter what they write, whether it's writing a prompt for a test, answering a social studies question, writing a creative story, or whatever they choose. If they're learning these techniques and styles of writing and they're aware of what they're doing and we're teaching them these specific, explicit strategies or skills to use, that they're going to carry it over into whatever genre they write in or whatever their prompt is or their topic.